This is the story of a woman named Barbara Capitman and her artist friend Leonard Horowitz, who came to Miami Beach in the 1970s, saw row after row of old dingy buildings, and got very excited. Almost hidden under the plain paint were shapes of seabirds, ocean waves, and shells. Some of the buildings looked like ships, some like lighthouses. All they needed was to be painted in a way that would highlight these details so others could appreciate their unique beauty. 50 years before Barbara and Leonard arrived on the scene, a powerful hurricane had destroyed much of southern Miami Beach. The area was soon rebuilt, much of it in the Art Deco style popular at the time, with its eyebrows to shade the windows, and front porches where visitors could enjoy the breezes and the ocean view. South Beach was very popular for a long time, but then taste changed. Bigger and fancier hotels were built farther north on the beach, and tourists preferred to stay there. South Beach started fading and showing its age. Barbara found out there was a plan to tear down the whole South Beach area and build tall hotels, which would hold a lot more people. But tall buildings would block the ocean breezes and the beautiful views of the sea and the beach. Why not restore the area to the beauty and charm of the past? There would be no other place in America like it. Some people thought Barbara's idea of fixing up the area was crazy, but not her friend Leonard. He was inspired to paint the old buildings, the colors of the ocean and the skies at dawn and sunset, so that they looked like part of the landscape, and highlight the details of the architecture. Leonard and Barbara convinced some of the building's owners to let them try out their ideas. One building, a bakery, was transformed from all white to what looked like a beautiful pastel wedding cake. A national magazine put its picture on the cover. People in the world of art, design, and architecture took notice and came to Miami Beach to take a closer look. People began to see what Barbara and Leonard were talking about. Some people still thought Barbara was crazy, but many others saw Barbara and Leonard's vision and signed up to help. They formed an organization called the Miami Design Preservation League, or MDPL for short. MDPL worked very hard to try to convince the city of Miami Beach and the developers who wanted to tear down the buildings and build new ones that preservation was a good idea. Some beautiful old hotels were destroyed in spite of the organized protests by the Miami Design Preservation League. MDPL knew that it had to move fast before more historic buildings were torn down. They took pictures of them and wrote descriptions of their interesting features, who the architects were who designed them, and when they were built. They took all the information to the capital of Florida, Tallahassee, and met with state officials in charge of preserving historic sites. The state officials agreed that this area was unique to Florida's history and recommended to the National Park Service that the area be listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So then the city of Miami Beach was convinced to create laws to protect these historic properties, and eventually the historic area grew even larger. Barbara and Leonard and the hard-working members of MDPL were happy, but they knew there was still more hard work ahead, making sure that the owners fixed up their buildings according to the original design. They had created the world's first Art Deco society and were eager to spread the word about MDPL's success in Miami Beach. A number of American cities had Art Deco buildings. Barbara and Leonard toured and promoted the idea of deco preservation based on what had been accomplished in Miami Beach and invited everyone to visit. Barbara was very persuasive. Famous artists, writers, and photographers started coming. Tourists from Europe soon followed. A very popular television show, Miami Vice, made Miami Beach its home base. The show's producers loved Miami Beach's pastel colors, and more buildings were painted with Leonard's palette. Once again, South Beach became the playground of the rich and famous, just like it had been in the beginning, 100 years ago, when a prosperous Quaker farmer from New Jersey named John Collins and a wealthy businessman from Indiana named Carl Fisher built a bridge connecting Miami Beach to the mainland and its destiny. Much of the credit for South Beach's fame and good fortune goes to Barbara Capitman, who had the big idea, her friend Leonard Horowitz, who chose the colors, and the Miami Design Preservation League, still working to preserve and promote Miami Beach's legacy for the millions of visitors who come each year.